Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast. Do you want to find your why? Robert Gignac is the author of an international bestseller, Rich is a State of Mind, a novel that examines personal finance and is seen through the eyes of a humorous, dysfunctional family. One day, a 2-minute conversation about personal finance turned into a self-published bestseller in Canada and the USA. Robert, great to have you here.
It's great to be here, Lorna. Thank you for having me as your guest.
What do you mean by finding the why? Why is the why so important?
When it comes to things like personal finance and trying to do better things with your money, a lot of people think the how is the biggest problem. How do I save money? How do I plan for my future? How do I set goals? But the reality is, Lorna, if people understood what their why is, the why is in fact the most important part, because if you don't understand why you're doing it in the first place, it's hard to maintain momentum towards anything if you don't understand what's the whole point of doing this, which is your why.
Yeah, I agree. I remember in another area of my life hitting a very low point, and I turned it around quickly because my why was so strong. Because this is my memory of it. But the pain of staying was worse than the pain of moving. And it was so strong on me why I had to move. I moved.
And that's applicable, Lorna, in pretty much every area of our life. And, although I spend much of my time talking about money, personal finances, creating a better future, it comes into play with terms of personal health, with motivation, with family issues, with our jobs and what we do for a living. At the end of the day, we have a variety of whys that we're trying to accomplish or work towards all at the same time. And sometimes it's like a juggling act. And if we have too many balls in the air and they start landing on the floor, what happens is we lose focus as to where the whys are supposed to be. And then we get incredibly off track.
When you talk about the why, right? Some people, especially with money, they think money is their motivation, but they get into getting going on their money and they realize they're not motivated about it anymore.
No, money for many people is a horrible motivator. It can be in a very short-term situation, perhaps, but is a long-term motivator. Money is a horrible motivator. And I've often said to people that, money's a good slave, but it's a horrible master. And whenever I say that to people, I said, understand, money can do good things for you. It puts a roof over our head. It puts petrol in our car. It allows us to travel, buy groceries, eat. But if we become slave to the money and everything's about creating more of it, getting more of it, then I think we're missing the point. When we master the money and do better things with it, then the why becomes that much easier.
How does somebody find their why?
For me, I think one of the best ways to do this, and this is something I encourage people to do in seminars all the time, is, for one, you have to totally disconnect for at least a couple of hours. And I've had people say, I can't do that. Well, sure you can. We all can. But we live in a 24/7 full-on electronic environment these days where, there are papers written about phantom cell phone calls where people will reach for their pockets thinking that the phone's ringing in their pocket, but the phone's not even in their pocket, right?
Yeah.
Because we have, in some ways, become a slave to the technology. People wake up at first thing in the morning. First thing they do is check their email. Oh my God, what happened overnight, right? And it's like, we all need to cut ourselves a little bit of a break. And when it comes to determining what our whys really are, for me, the best possible way to do that, Lorna, is to be quiet and alone with yourself for a minimum of an hour. I encourage people to do it for 2 or 3. Pick up a pad of paper, a pencil, a pen, a crayon, whatever you like to doodle with, and do that. Doodle, draw sketches, figure it out, make a to-do list. Come up with the things that are really, really important to you that, A, make you smile, give you that nice, warm, comfortable glow and feeling within yourselves when you think about that. I said to an audience once in a seminar, I said, I can tell you how to find your why if you'd let me. And here's what I would need to do. I would need to go and wake you up at 2:30 in the morning while you're in a dead sleep, shake you really hard and go, tell me what you were just dreaming about. And that, for many of us, is our why. It's the thing that preoccupies our time when we let all of the other distractions go away.
What about a big struggle for a lot of people? I feel they might have dumped it down, but a lot of people kind of secretly do know what their why is, but they don't trust it or follow it, or they hide from it. They're fearful of it.
The fearful part is interesting, Lorna, because I think when it comes to our why, and one of the greatest ways we do help ourselves with goal setting and planning for it and trying to accomplish it is we share it with individuals around us who can help keep us focused and let us know that it's top of mind. But we're desperately afraid of being judged when we tell somebody what our why is. Because to put it out there and share that with people, it means that other people can go, why do you want that? Why does that mean so much to you? And we would rather not have that conversation at times because we feel what people will think what I want, my why, as to why I'm doing this is silly or not significant enough, or in some cases, not big enough. And, I imagine in the reading and the work that you do, you've had lots of people say, you've got to get a bigger why.
Mm-hmm.
And my reaction to that is, if your why is driving you to the point that you're working on accomplishing and feeling really good about yourself and what you're doing, don't go looking for a bigger one. Maybe find a second one after you accomplish the first. But if you try tinkering with what your why is to fit somebody else's model, I think you're really doing yourself a disservice.
And how does my why help me with my personal finance? So say I want to be financially free, okay? But there's a why behind why I want to be financially free, right? How
Exactly.
does my why motivate me? Or how does it, why is it such an important part of me doing what I need to do, what I should do to create that financial freedom?
For me, Lorna, I think a great deal of it comes from visualization of your why and how that fits in your life. So, for example, where I am sitting right now in my office, I'm looking at a picture of a polar bear on my wall, framed under glass. It's gorgeous. And I took this picture.
Yeah.
I took this picture because I've been fascinated by bears since I was a kid. And I had set a goal for myself that I was going to go and take this picture. Now, what happened was, just because I set the goal doesn't mean the picture automatically happened. As with many things in life, I set it as a 5-year goal. It took me almost 11 before I actually got the picture. Why? Because life happened. Things got in the way. Relationships changed. A couple of moves changed. A couple of jobs changed. But I never lost sight of the big why, which for me was, I want to take this picture. And now every time I look at this picture, the question, was it all worth it, is uppercase YES exclamation point. And I've already got more goals to satisfy upcoming whys well, now that I've got the picture of the polar bear, I want to go to Alaska and get the picture of the grizzly bear. And, you start putting plans in place. And this is where I think sometimes we fall victim to the your why's not big enough. But if you make your why so big that you can't accomplish it in bite-sized chunks, you lose momentum about getting there if it's going to take you 14 years to accomplish the why. So pick on the whys that in some ways you can, in some of them you'll knock off in 3, 4, 5 months. Some of them will take a year. Some of them will take 2 years. But as you see progressive success at knocking off a small one here, a medium one there, but the medium one gets you towards the bigger one that you know is coming down the line, it's that type of snowball effect that I think has a great impact on us accomplishing our why, Lorna.
Yeah, you've said loads of amazing things there. You talked about visualizing it. You talked about setting the goals. You talked about the plan. You talked about taking it little by little. And you talked about the progressive success, because the more evidence you have, the more you believe you can actually create it. And
exactly.
This is what's very powerful, I believe. The more I've been coaching and, doing stuff like this, is that the more you accomplish, the more you believe you can accomplish things that, like, you're like, well, I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. And even if it's hard, or even if it's difficult, or even if it takes you 30 years, if you set the goals and you write down the steps to get there, and you take some action of some sort every day, it's inevitable. You will get there.
And there will be days, and sometimes those days turn into weeks and can turn into a month, of it feels like we're making zero progress at all. And in fact, not only did we not make any progress, I think we slid a little bit further backward. It's on those days that we really need to keep that picture in our mind about where we're headed. And for me, I'm very visual in terms of that. There are people who are not very visual, and for them it's words on a page, or it's a list of goals, or it's a written paragraph in their own handwriting about why means so much to them, and about how they're not going to lose focus and momentum, and how they're going to accomplish it. And visualization is great for some. The words work better for others. For others, it's a tactile thing. They need to kind of see, touch, feel that why in terms of doing that. And I think it's a great thing that we pursue these. But one thing I would want to share with your listeners, Lorna, is we have to be careful that we don't adopt a why that somebody else has told us we should want.
Mm. Yeah, because
this happens all of the time, I think. Mm-hmm. From well-meaning friends, coworkers, family members. They should tell us, you should want to do X, you should want to do Y, you should want to have this, you should want to go here. And they all sound good, and they're well-meaning, of course. They're people we love in our lives. But if the why that we're focused on and the goals that we're trying to accomplish are not ours, we'll never do the work or put in the effort. And then through a cool psychological thing called cognitive dissonance, we'll get angry at ourselves for not accomplishing a goal we never had.
Yeah. Do as you were saying that, I was saying to myself, nothing will make you sicker than not living what's true to you.
That's an excellent way of putting that.
Quicker. I see it all the time. I want to do this, but I should do this, and I have a mortgage on my house. They say they want to travel. I have a mortgage on my house, and what would I do about that? And what would I do about this? And then another person in another situation ends up, their marriage breaks down, they've no money, their house is gone, and they start over again, and it feels awful at the time, and then 5 years later you meet them and they're like, that's the best thing that ever happened.
Exactly.
Because it forced them to live their truth.
I got let go from a job seems like a long time ago now. It was about 18 years ago. I actually got fired by email.
Yeah.
And the funny part was, I was working at a client site for a software company I was working on in the middle of nowhere. I didn't have access to my corporate email. I worked for 2 days after I got fired.
Yeah.
And all of my friends, when they found out about it, they threw a big pity party for me and went, "Oh, I can't believe what they did to Robert. That was horrible. How they treated them." But at the end of the day, I had already had inklings that, this thing isn't right for me. I think I'm good at this, but there's something else I should be doing. I just don't know what it is. And then, I don't know whether you call it life or something came along and gave me a kick in the butt and said, "Yeah, here's your opportunity. Go do something else." And had that not come along, it's not a case of I think I'd still be there today, 18 years later. It might have taken me another 8 months or 12 months or 24 months. But sometimes we all need that little kick in the butt that says, "Hey, it's time for you to do something different. Go do this." And when those moments happen, I think it's pretty powerful.
I agree. It's like I always remember in the book Napoleon Hill, where he talks about 3 feet from gold. That thought always comes into my head when I think of that. But I just want to ask you this very quickly. Rich is a state of mind. What do you mean by that? Like if I'm thinking about my why, rich is a state of mind. What do you mean by that?
When I was trying to come up with a title for the book, and I, like many authors, struggled with, what do you call this thing you've created? For me, it spawned out of a conversation that spawned the book. We've all met people that, if they're walking down the street and in the case of yourself living in Europe, they've got £5 or €5 in their pocket, and that's all the money they've got. Yet they're the happiest person you've ever going to meet. Mm-hmm. And then we meet somebody else, and they may have a net worth with multiple commas in it, mm-hmm. but they can't sleep at night terrified that at some point it's all going to disappear. Mm-hmm. Which of those two people is happier? Well, I think the answer is obvious, and I suspect your listeners will as well. Mm-hmm. And so what I seem to stumble upon by accident is that it's our state of mind regarding money and personal finances that truly determines whether or not we're rich. The concept of rich isn't about the number at the bottom of a bank statement or an investment portfolio statement. It's about how we feel about our lives, who we're spending our time with, who we're sharing our joys and happiness and the occasional sorrow with, and our approach to being ourselves, not about somebody else's number regarding financial success. And I was kind of doodling the one day about trying to come up with a title, and I didn't want it to be a book about about all dollars and cents. I wanted it to be about more than that. And I scribbled down "rich is a state of mind." I went, I kind of went, "That's nice." And I went, wait a second. I think that's it. It's about the story I tell about the two people with £5 versus £1 million. Well, if the one individual is happy and the other one is miserable, then it really is about your state of mind, about what you're doing. And the title just kind of stuck from there.
Yeah, because an outside source doesn't make you happy. Money doesn't make you happy. Another relationship doesn't make you happy. Yeah, totally. You know what, Robert? This has been an amazing conversation and a great reminder, even for myself, about what's my why behind creating financial freedom. And the reminder of how I wake up every day. For our listeners today, of our conversation and creating financial freedom, what's that kind of one aha you would like them to take away and remember this for the rest of their life as a game changer?
The one big aha that I would hope people would take away, and certainly it's had an impact on me, is find the picture for yourself. And it really doesn't matter what that picture is. It only has to be significant to you. And for everybody, Lorna, it's going to be different. For some, it might be a beach sunset scene. For some, it might be the first kid in the family to graduate from university. For some, it's a family reunion with hundreds of your family surrounding you. For some, it's a nice, bright red sports car. But find that picture that means something to you, that regardless of what's happening around you, and as difficult as life is at times and the challenges and curves it throws at you, every time you think about that picture, you get that really odd, funny smile on your face that if somebody saw you doing it, they would go, okay, what are you thinking about? When you get that picture and plant it, take it out of your head, plant it right in your heart, you will be able to go through any of the hows and any of the other stuff that gets in your way, because that's the why about what you're doing all of this for. And sometimes we've all been thinking about that for a long time, but we've never vocalized it. We've never written it down or even verbalized it to our best friend. And when we take the time to do that, we take our first giant step towards accomplishing that why, whatever it is for you.
Robert, I love that. Even my own personal journey, I had this big why, I was going to be a love coach, did all that, and then bam, plateaued and went, no, I don't want to do that anymore.
And that's okay.
And I needed a new why. And just as you're talking and you were saying, paint that picture. What's that picture? What's that picture? Pictures were coming into my head. So my picture, this is why this is such a good recording. My picture is animals in Africa. I was thinking lions and elephants and how I'd love to go there, because a couple of years ago, before I went to the States and stayed there for 4 years, I was going to go on this volunteer on this safari, but I never did it. And it's always something I've wanted to do. So thank you, Robert. I found my why.
If I can help in any way with that, or if I have helped in any way with that, Lorna, I'm incredibly honored and flattered that we've got another why out there for you to go after.
Thank you, Robert. Robert, how do we find out more about you?
The two best places to find out more about me would be my personal website, which is robertgignac.com. So RobertGignac.com. And that's got links to articles I've written, videos of me speaking at different events, my podcast, and some of the blog posts I put up. If somebody is interested about the book, Rich is a State of Mind, the best place to learn more about that is the book's website, which is richisastateofmind.com. So it's simply the book's title spelled out as one word. And if they'd like to reach out, drop me a note. I'll be happy to respond. And if I can help people along their process, I'm more than happy to do so.
Thank you, Robert. This has been amazing. I just want to say to everybody as well, remember to hop on over to Financial Freedom Podcast. This is a safe haven of like-minded people, go-getter wealth creators. Join us there on Facebook/groups, the Financial Freedom Podcast. Thank you, Robert, for being here. This has been amazing. And I'm absolutely shocked that you helped me find my why while we're chatting here. Brilliant. Thank you.
Lorna, it's been a pleasure to be with you today. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my message.